Kaden Harris and Caden with Daddy Did You Know. Sean J. Harris, again, is a generational wealth expert, and he has a beautiful family. They're creating lifestyle through building multiple streams of income. He shows you how the 3 money skills you must know. And I thought it was really interesting in reading his magazine. He shows 3 changes to increase your income, and the power of association is something that he says here that is extremely important. He has on here your top 5 people will show you your future. Now, I want you guys to really think, and this is in Sean J. Harris's magazine called Wealthy Habits Magazine, the #1 magazine for building generational wealth. And he says your top 5 will show your future on page 7. Okay? And he shows himself with Marjorie Harvey, wife of Steve Harvey. He shows himself with Damon John, Chris Tucker, and Usher. Okay? And you know, when you think about it, the Bible says your association says who you are, basically. That association spoils useful habits. So can you imagine hanging around people of like mind who are upbuilding and uplifting you to go higher? That's the type of people that you want to hang around. And Mr. Sean J. Harris, are you there?
Yes, how are you, Miss Azalea? Good to hear from you tonight.
Wow, I'm so impressed. Thank you for coming on, seriously.
Thank you for having us.
Let me ask you, absolutely. Starting with you, because you and your wife are the foundation. The man, I'm old school from the ancient scriptures.
Okay.
The man is the leader. The man is the leader.
Yes.
Okay, he is the head.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you are truly showing that leadership in your family. You give a woman something to respect. You get what I'm saying? So
yes.
How do you do that? What, first of all, is your advice to other black men in being self-employed and taking a leadership role in their family?
Well, I think it's vitally important to make sure that we instill leadership in our young men, in our boys, and our sons. And, I had a great example. My parents are going on year number 50 this year as far as marriage. So I come from a good background of seeing what a strong black household can look like. And it's always important to me to be able to demonstrate that with my kids. But the biggest thing is to show love in your queen. When the kids see that their mother is loved, then they know that they're also loved. And that's one of the key things that keep Tara and I just grounded and be able to have a unified household is that oftentimes we realize each other's love languages. We understand each other's strengths. Whatever area I'm not as strong in, she can fill in the gap and vice versa with her. And we just communicate very well. We have a lot of fun. That's the key thing, because you can be so hardcore into business, but if there's no fun in the household, you just have a house, you don't have a home. So that's one of the key things that we always do is we have so much fun. We always have laughter and just tons of fun around the house.
So what are some of the books that you have out? You had, oh my God, there's so many. Tell us about your book.
As a matter of fact, I just started writing book number 26 today. I have tons of books. Where's My Hidden Money? That's a great book. Some of the fundamentals that a lot of people often tell me is that, well, Sean, I don't have money. Or I would hear people say, well, there's not a lot of black money in the black community. And man, last year we spent over $1.7 trillion. So the money is there. It's just how we're allocating and deploying those funds is what's important. So oftentimes, we get into buying entertainment, we get into the tennis shoes, buying shoes and so forth like that. But here's what I learned talking to somebody not too long ago. They said that all the other communities, and Dr. Claude Anderson teaches on this a lot. I met with him earlier last summer, and Claude talks about the economic bounce, where in the African American community, we only have an economic bounce of about 4 to 6 hours. And what that means is it's how long our dollar circulates in the black community. So once we get our income, our money tends to circulate only 4 to 6 hours. And in other communities like the Caucasian community, I think their bounce is like 6 to 8 days. You have the Arab community, theirs is like 12 to 14 days. Then you have the Jewish community who have the highest bounce, and that's 19 to 21 days that the money circulates within their own community. So we have the money, and it's always said that all these other communities, they live on two different income sources. They live on 100% of their own and 98% of African American communities. So they're living on their own plus ours. And we don't have that luxury to be able to say that we can do that. So that's why it's so important for us to be able to have group economics and be able to support our own communities. So in that book, Where's My Hidden Money, I uncover some of those things as far as how to find that money that you already have. You just need to be able to have eyes to see it and to be able to recirculate it back. I have a good book, a top seller now. It's 7 Skills to Become Wealthy. These are some of the top 7 skills I talk about. Another thing that people have to learn is what's called learning money skills. And the 3 money skills are very simple. The first money skill is understanding how to create a high income skill. Now, notice I didn't say a high income job, but a high income skill. This is a skill set that typically you can generate at least $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year. Now, once we create that high income skill, now we have to learn how to be able to hold on to money. That's the second skill. So it's easy to go out and buy a pair of Jordans or go out and do whatever with this money. But if it doesn't have a return on investment, it's all for naught. And, you know, I have 2 different ways I look at money. You have what's called boomerang money, and you also have what's called frisbee money. Now, just like a traditional frisbee, you throw it and it lands and it sits there. It doesn't come back to you. However, a boomerang, ideally, it's supposed to come back to you. So with boomerang income or money, it's money that goes out, it deploys, and comes back with many friends, i.e. a return on investment greater than the investment itself. So in the black community, we have to get good at being able to deploy our capital where it can benefit our community as well as create a return on investment. And then the third money skill is to learn how to cultivate or how to multiply that money. So the first skill, again, was to be able to have a high income skill. The second skill is to be able to hold on to that money. And, you know, we don't save money just to save money, but we save money to invest it. And that's how we actually grow and duplicate our money.
Wow. Wow. Now you go out and you teach courses. I see in the back of your book, you have Business Started by Sean's coaching course.
Yes.
And so you go out to different, fly across the world, different places, and do coaching. And I see that, and this is what I absolutely love, your featured CEOs are your Kaden Harris, K-Lock,
yes,
and Caden Harris, Patty, did you know? And I love it because wealth starts at home first.
Absolutely.
At home first.
Absolutely.
So how did you ingrain that in your family?
Well, my great aunt and uncle owned one of the first African American owned hotels in Atlanta in the Auburn Avenue district back during the pre-civil rights era, and it was called Mays and Ford Hotel and Restaurant, and a lot of the entertainers from the Chitlin circuit would actually stay there. And one of the other hotels, which I just recently found out back during Christmas time, was also a part of my family, and that's the Pascal's Restaurant and Hotel. So I come from a long lineage of entrepreneurs, and both my parents actually own companies. So I grew up understanding, you know, we had the choices to go to school, get good grades, and go get a good job. We all learned that growing up. But my parents gave me different options. They said when you graduate, you either go to the military, go to the college, or, in fact, go get a job. So I didn't want to go to school any longer because school just wasn't for me. I was a C student, just wanting to see my way out of there. And I didn't want to go get a job right away because I didn't like being told what to do. So I took my third option, which was the military. So I went to the Air Force, and they, of course, still told me what to do. But I had a background in aeronautics and aerospace propulsion, all that aircraft stuff. But I knew that that still wasn't what I wanted to do. I knew that the entrepreneurial bug was deep inside of me. So when I got out of the military, I went into law enforcement for a little while. But I subsequently started a couple real estate companies, and that was the launch of my entrepreneurial pursuits. And I actually started my very first company when I was 7 years old. My brother and I, we cut grass in the neighborhood. And I still think that's one of the most valuable fundamentals that even kids today should learn is to go out and create a source of income on their own, whether it's cutting grass or anything like that. So I only saw it befitting to start my kids in business. And my daughter, she's 9, she's Kennedy. She's the CEO of Klock Products, and her website is klockproducts.com, klock.com. And her business inception was when she was actually kidnapped out of the school system, where DFACS actually picked her up. Kennedy is Kennedy ending with the letter I. They were looking for Kennedy ending with the letter Y. And there's a 2-year age discrepancy between the two children, but they did have the same first and last name. So Kennedy was missing for over 3.5 hours, and long story short, as a result, she started a locket safety business, which had the kids' name, their school, their point of contact, etc. And in that process, dealing with her coping mechanism, she also had a fascination with dolls. So she said, "Daddy, I want a doll that looks like me with beautiful features, natural hair, pretty eyes, good chocolate skin." So she has her own collection of African-American baby dolls. They're called sugar babies. And
are you serious? I didn't know about that one.
Yeah.
Where can you get the sugar babies? I collect dolls.
That's at
Where can you get the sugar babies?
klockproducts.com. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so she has 5 different selections. They have a couple of them have African attire, which she personally hand selected and designed. And so that started her company. And Caden saw she was having great success at a lot of vending events we went to. So he's like, "Hey, I want a business." And I just remember every day Caden would come home and say, "Daddy, did you know?" And he would tell me some type of tutorial information. And one day he actually came home and he stunned me. He said, "Daddy, do you know what hydrochloro something was?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know what that is, but you tell me." And of course I didn't know the answer. So he told me, he said, "Daddy, that's the absorbent material used in diapers." So of course I went to Google, as any responsible parent would, and I looked it up, and in fact, he was correct. So I said, "You know what? You need to start a YouTube tutorial channel." So he started that, and he would come up with more information. So we started him a financial flashcard series. And I'll have him tell you about that here in just a second. But that's how he started his business, and it segued into great opportunities. He's been on Fox TV shows. Both kids have been interviewed on national platforms. And we've actually been expanding both their businesses internationally as well. So that was the culmination of how they got started.
So wait a minute. You didn't say how old is Kennedy and how old is Caden?
Gotcha. Caden is now 8. Kennedy is now 9. Kennedy started her business when she was 7. And Caden was 7 when he started his company as well.
Wow. So they're going to be multi-millionaires by next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So let's talk to Caden, too, and so he can tell us about Daddy Did You Know. I'd like to hear more.
Okay, here's Caden.
Hello, my name is Caden. I'm the CEO of Daddy Did You Know. My business will solve the problem to financial literacy through my financial flashcards in my course. My business is different from others because it's for a kid, by a kid with my unique touch. My brand includes science, engineering, and finance. To learn more, please visit my website, daddydidyouknow.com, or my YouTube, Daddy Did You Know. And I have financial flashcards. They can teach you about financial literacy. And I have 3 different series. One is on banking, real estate, and mortgage do's and don'ts. And I have a book titled I'm Not Going to Argue With You, and it can teach you how to deal with the negative people throughout life. And it talks about when a lady told me that I couldn't be a speaker, it wasn't a career. And 2 weeks after that, I went to a pitching event and I won $25,000. And
Wow.
and
Well, you are amazing, Kaden. Kaden, wait a minute. Kaden, I gotta stop you, Kaden. So this teacher was arguing with you, basically telling you that you couldn't do what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you wrote a book. You wrote a book about this. How can we get your book?
You can go to my website, daddydidyouknow.com.
Okay. What advice would you give to other young people and older people, Kaden, to live their dreams? What advice would you give them?
Believe in yourself and don't say I can't, and don't let negative people stop them.
Wow. Now, how do you do that? How do you not let negative people stop you?
I don't use their advice that they tell me.
Wow, Kaden, you rock. You really, really rock. You know that? I'm so proud of you. And I can't take any credit for it. Your dad and mom takes all the credit. You are amazing. You are amazing. Yes. Does anyone have any questions for Kaden and Sean J. Harris? Any questions out there? Because, oh, wow, it's amazing what they're doing. Please go to their website. Again, to order Sean J. Harris's product, you go to SeanJHarris.com. This man can truly teach you about coaching because look what he's done with his family. This should be duplicated worldwide.
Exactly.
Who's on there talking? You want to ask a question? Who's speaking right now?
This is Terry. I'm just astounded how well this child speaks and how well his dad has programmed him to be what he is, and I'm just so thankful to be able to hear this. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited for them.
If I could share with you, Terry, Caden actually could not speak until he was about 4.5 years old. And, the school system tried to say that he was delayed and all that kind of, those labels that they try to put on him. And, we put them both, him and Kennedy, both in a Toastmaster class. And he was taking a speech pathology type class, speech therapy class. And it's amazing how, like he said, the lady at his school gave him a negative report. And if I could segue onto what he was talking about with that same teacher immediately asked the next child what did they want to do when they grew up. And the child said, I want to be a rapper. And the teacher immediately entertained that, like, oh, yeah, as if that was more of a career than being a speaker or an author or a business owner. So, it's so important that as parents, we have to ensure that we instill positive energy into the kids, because what goes in their eye and ear gates is what we're going to get. I've always said that, a child, when they're first born, is like a white canvas. And everything we do and say to that child is like a swipe of the paintbrush on the canvas. So when you step back after about 3 to 5 years, you take a step back, you'll see if you in fact have a Picasso or if you have a horrible work of art. So you're right. You're right on that as far as just being able to put the positive in them. And I tell you now, Caden, he snaps back real quick, and he holds his own, and he has an incredible goal. Caden, can you tell everybody what your goal is before you turn 20?
My goal before I turn 20 years old is to own a multi-family unit so I can live in one and rent out the rest.
Do you ever plan on working a job?
No.
Why not?
Because Because I don't want to get told what to do, and if they fire me, I'll have to look for another job, and that might take a month, probably.
And you'll never fire yourself, would you?
No.
Yeah.
Kaden, I'm laughing because that is the truth. Because to me, I'm not disrespecting anyone, this is just my opinion. A 9-to-5 job is a slave job. It really is. It puts you in slavery. And when you do work for yourself, you have to be disciplined. And you guys are disciplined. So let me ask you this question. How, Mr. Harris, how to teach yourself and your children discipline? Because, you cannot like for instance, if you have to make those 1,000 calls or do whatever, you can't sit around watching TV, doing this, doing that. Nothing will get done and you'll be starving.
Right.
So how do you discipline yourself when you're self-employed?
Well, we all have the mindset, and I teach the kids, it's like what we do to qualify our time. You have to qualify your time. And we do that by asking ourselves, is what I'm about to partake in, is this going to increase my net worth? If the answer is no, then I have to strongly reconsider that activity. So we don't do non-productive things during productive time for sure. But just as much, when you do have unproductive time or non-productive time, we got to figure out how can I make that time productive and useful. So one of the key things we do is we just ask ourselves, if someone asks me, hey, Sean, would you like to come to this event? We're having a party this weekend. My first question is, who's going to be there? And if they tell me it's Pookie and Ray Ray from the block, then I have to reconsider going. And it's no offense to Pookie and Ray Ray, but I have to ask myself, is this going to be the best and highest use of my time? So therefore, if it isn't, I probably won't go. But if they tell me, hey, the mayor's going to be there, or this person will be there with this bank, or CEOs will be there, then that would be the highest and best use of my time. And then that way I can make a better decision as to whether we'll spend our time there. And, as a self-employed person, you can't have the luxury of laying around until the crack of noon to get up and get it going. And I actually like to use what I call mini days. And that's where I can compress 2 to 3 days into one actual day. And I can do that by starting my day at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I can accomplish a whole day's worth of work before 12 noon. Then from 12 noon to 6 p.m., I can actually do tomorrow's work within that same time span. So that way you can compress at least a 2 months worth of effort into 30 days.
That's awesome. That's awesome advice. So what does a day look like in your household?
A typical day, Caden will be starting homeschooling this year, but during the summer, the kids are both doing homeschool camp, if you will. And Terry gets up with them, we feed them breakfast, and then they'll take about an hour and a half of doing education type stuff. They do chores, of course, to teach discipline, because we always want them to understand the value of work ethic and money. And with the schooling, like right now, Kaden and Kennedy are both going to the 4th grade, and they are scheduled to do double-digit multiplication in the 4th grade. But Tara have them doing 3- and 4-digit multiplication already, and we're just the second week, 2 weeks into the summer break. Wow. So they're going to go back to school in 4th grade, like way ahead of the class. And, Tara and I will get up and do some emails, check inventory of some things, make sure the kids read. So it's pretty laid back for the most part. We like to get everything. I'm prior Air Force, Tara's prior Navy. So we are in the mind frame of hurry up and get it done. So we like to get everything done before like 11 o'clock that day. And then we can kind of be on autopilot the remainder of the day or start the next day's work. And then the kids have free time. They still engage in kids' activities. Caden is really big into technology. He's always got an iPad in his hand. And Kennedy, same thing. She is into games with Caden as well. They play. And the funny thing about it, they will play the same game on 2 different iPads in the exact same room. So Tara and I, we're still trying to figure that one out. But they really have a lot of fun. They both like to skate, roller skate and ice skate. They like to swim. Kennedy is like a little jellyfish in the water. Kaden is more like me, just a splasher. But we really have a lot of fun though, and preparing for like an event like this past weekend with the Juneteenth event. Days leading up, we'll make sure all of our inventory is in order. Do some packaging if necessary. We teach the kids how to reorder their products. We have manufacturers and printers, so they understand the process. We take them with us as well. And like maybe tomorrow, we'll probably do a bank run so they can make deposits. They fill out their own deposit slips, conduct their own transactions at the bank. So we walk them through the whole financial process of reinvesting back into their business, and then also saving money and investing as well. They both have investment accounts as well.
Wow. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I did not know how to do a checking book or anything because it was not taught to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so we can assume like women being taught to clean, men being taught to clean, just basic things in life. And so it's so important. I mean, I think you should come up with something on how to teach your children how to open an account, how to do the basic, fundamentals, because we assume that people know how to do that, just basic things, and they don't. So it's amazing that you're teaching your children that.
Yes,
What
actually.
advice would you give parents on that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in Caden's activity book, he has an activity book on finances. In there, it teaches kids how to write checks, and the difference between a checking account, savings account. And the funny thing about that, you mentioned that, is that so many adults, when they start skimming through his activity book, they find out that, in fact, that they weren't taught a lot of that stuff and may not still know some of that stuff. Same thing with the flashcards. So the advice that I'd always recommend is, in the learning process, it's, as adults, we have to humble ourselves and realize that there may be some things that we may not know that even the future generation knows or will soon know. But it's perfectly okay, particularly in our community, it's perfectly okay to learn together, to learn as a family, learn with our kids, our grandchildren. And I think that will be instrumental in the growth of all families, particularly families that look like us. So,
I think it's important that you say that, because there is a neighbor that I have, and he is a worker. That man always has money in his pocket, hundreds and hundreds, cash and investing and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 68 years old and he doesn't know how to read. And I said, you don't know how to read? I said, I'll spend time with you and show you how to read. And what I'm saying about that is, I tell everybody, act like I don't know anything, because we have to be able to say our vulnerabilities so that we can learn from each other. I mean, we don't know everything.
Right.
And if you never say it, how are you going to learn?
That's very true, very true. When I'm speaking around the world, I'm always telling people that, oftentimes we always felt, the way the school system brings us up is you have to know everything. You have to be excellent in 6 different subjects. But, that's not the best sometimes. Sometimes you have to get really good at 1 or 2 things that you're really great at. But, oftentimes people feel that they have to be the big fish. And I always tell everybody, if you're the big fish in your pond, you have problems. Now, I have my own pond where I am the big fish, where I'm actually guiding and mentoring and coaching some of my mentees. But at the same time, I'm wise enough to know that I have to swim to bigger ponds and lakes and even oceans so that I can now become the guppy in a pond or ocean or lake that's full of huge fish. So where I can get information, so I can come back to my feeder pond and give information. So you can't always be the big dog on the playground, if you will. You got to also be a puppy on other playgrounds where you can get your information. And I think that's the best way that we can all continue to grow, because if you receive a lot of information, you'll get information constipation. So if you don't share that information, you can't receive more information. So, I always ask people, if you squeeze an orange, you're going to get orange juice. If I squeeze a lemon, you're going to get a lemon. Well, if I squeeze you, the best of you will then come out. So it's important that we fill ourselves with information, but we also have to give that information out willingly, because that's the best way you're going to have practical, like exercising what you're teaching by teaching it, so that you can also get new information.
Wow, we really appreciate you, and I know we're about to run out of time, but this has been awesome. I'm looking at your book, and I see that you've been to Thailand, which we're going January 2nd, and all around the world, and taking your family and exposing them to other cultures. Why is it so important to do that?
That's really, really important. So many people, I know people my age and even older who tells me, Sean, I haven't even left the state of Georgia. I haven't been on an airplane before. I haven't been out of the country. It's vitally important to understand different cultures, different ways of life, but more importantly, to expand your business globally. Whenever we're traveling, we always seek to grow our business. We just recently got back a few days ago. We rented out an island in South America, in Cartagena, Colombia. And, oftentimes people, when you hear about Colombia, if you haven't traveled anywhere, people tend to think of Colombia as being a drug cartel or mafia type stuff, or only known for its coffee. But when we got there and the kids got there, they were totally amazed. I had a private concierge, and he actually spent time with the kids and started teaching them the language and submersing them into cultural aspects, teaching them about different foods and so forth like that. So it's really important for us to be able to see different cultures, to see other trends, and more importantly, understand economics around the world. Because if we get so stuck into our local environment of this is how we make money and not understanding various economic markets, you're going to be left behind. But I also think that's just important for the kids to be able to see different things too, and just not limit them. Again, it's kind of like that Picasso I was talking about. Either we can use the full canvas or we can use just a quarter of the canvas. So, we elect to use the full canvas, of course, and then expose them to everything possible.
Okay, again, we thank you. For those, get your pen and piece of paper out. We have Sean J. Harris, and his website is SeanJHarris.com. We have Caden Harris, which is DaddyDidYouKnow.com, and Kennedy Harris with KLock.com. That's KLockProducts.com. And any closing remarks, Mr. Harris?
Yes. One thing I want to really emphasize with people is to take a look at where you are parking your money. One of the key things, we had the event at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and, I know so many people that get like season tickets to events, and of course, have fun, enjoy life, but we also have to make sure that a good part of your money needs to be going towards an investment towards your family, towards your legacy. Figure out what those things are that your family needs to be able to create generational wealth. Because here's the deal. You can't work 20, 30, 40 years for a corporation and expect to hand that job over to your kids. It's just not going to happen. We're lucky in this particular generation if you can even finish out 20 years with a company before they downsize or just outright get rid of you. So it's important that we be able to create legacies, start learning about insurances. That's one of the biggest things to create generational wealth. Understand real estate, and also own a business of your own. That's what I call my trifecta, which are the three areas of business ownership, real estate, and insurances. Once you really cultivate that and learn how to put together your own family banking system, then that will be the best way to create generational wealth, indestructible generational wealth.
Well, again, we thank you. We thank you, Terry. We thank you, Caden. Thank you, Mr. Sean J. Harris. And all of you that are listening and Virtual Black Wall Street members, we are grateful. We thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're not a Virtual Black Wall Street member, please go to vbws.org, or we are on Facebook under Virtual Black Wall Street. We're on Instagram on Virtual Black Wall Street 8, the number 8, which stands for prosperity. Okay, we'll be on next Monday. If you'd like to feature your business, please call us at 404-839-8685. That's 839-8685. And we'll have announcements all the time on the virtual Black Wall Street. So we thank you again. Until next time, next Monday, relax, rejoice, and revitalize, and go to virtual Black Wall Street. Have a good evening, everyone.